My name is Alexander Karekis. I live in Carmel, California, and I produce a television show called Finding Lost Civilizations. The purpose of that show is to visit ancient sites that time has long forgotten. My curiosity about the Plain of Jars actually goes back to probably the 1960s. I remember reading a book, and it mentioned the Plain of Jars. It was always something in the back of my mind that I would like to go visit, and eventually I did. When I arrived there was a path that I followed, and it took me to the top of the hill. From the top of that hill, I could see many of these megalithic jars. It was really almost a spiritual feeling. You know, you're taking in this vista, this view of these megalithic jars. You knew that ancient man had built them, and so you're there trying to figure out what ancient man did. And so I followed the path down, and I went out to look at the jars. I was quite fascinated. No jar was alike. They were all different because as I examined them, I could see that they were all hand carved. One of the most significant jars that I saw was this humongous megalithic jar, maybe over 100 tons. So it's a fairly significant rock laying there. It was really beautiful. I consider those jars a work of art. It still is a mystery today as to why the jars were constructed and how they were used. There's several theories. The local theory is that they were used for people to drink out of. Another hypothesis, the archaeological hypothesis, is that these jars were somehow connected to ancient funeral rites. Now, another one that's out there is that giants once roamed the earth, and these were vessels that the giants constructed. So it's still very speculative, and I believe it will continue to be speculative. And the things that I think about, who were the people that built them? What was their life like? You know, how did they live? What was their joy? What was their happiness? It's a fascinating quest to try to understand what life was like then. Many people today think that ancient man was not as smart as we are today. But you know, I believe that mankind's intelligence has been fairly consistent. In other words, what we have today is the knowledge of technology, but it was all built upon the power of the mind of people before us. You know, I really don't know why they were there, but I'm in awe. And as I said, it was a spiritual experience, knowing that mankind has these elements to construct something that today is still a mystery.